足長っ。超美形すぎない？何かのモデルさん？めっちゃイケメン。
おいお前見ねえ顔だな。
I got a cheat skill in another world and became unrivaled in the real world too. There is a lot, and I mean a lot, to like about this anime. And honestly, I really like it a lot. I think that it has a really intriguing plotline. It is isekai, and it is going to be main character gets OP skills, and everybody in the world gravitates towards him, and the world begins to revolve around him. You can tell that's what this story is going to be about. But that's okay because of what it's doing outside of that. That makes this a really interesting take on isekai. Now, with that breadth of words out the way, on the converse side, there are some systemic things that I really don't like about the anime, and I really don't like about the episode. But bringing it back, I will say this. I think the things that I did not like are going to be housed only in episode number 1. I don't think that what I didn't like, and there was a lot that I didn't like, are going to spill over into episode 2. So let me start off with the positive, and then I'll move into, I don't want to say the word negative, but I'll move into my critical assessment of the episode. I think if I were to put a grade on it, I think this was like a 7.5 out of 10, but a really strong showing from what I usually believe in, which is I think episode 1 needs to give the viewer, you and I, a reason to come and watch next week. And I think they nailed that. So on that aspect, within that 7.5 rating, lives the reason to come back another week. I just don't think it was a masterpiece or anything like that. So if you loved it and you thought this was the best thing you've ever seen, click off now, no problem. Leave me a like, subscribe, and let me know if you want to see me review this on a weekly basis in the comments below. That's how I'm basing what I'm going to review all season long. Now, for those who stick around, let's talk about the positives and negatives. So here's what I really, really loved about the anime. First off, the OP is really, really good. The OP, as well as the show itself, shows off some really amazing animation. And based on the beginning, and based on the transition about 2/3 of the way in, what they did really well is color. And I have really been amazed at some of the studios who have been able to pull this off. If you pay attention to about the first or 2/3 of the episode, because it's trying to convey a ambiance of dreariness and mortification and depression. It's really black and white. There are some color there, but they're really muted quite a bit. Even the things that are color are very dark and dreary. The last third of the episode, when our main character here begins to explore the other world, it begins to be daytime. He goes to his first day of school in high school. There's a lot of color there, signifying his world has now changed. And if you didn't catch that, I'm putting you onto that, because it was a very clear thing to me. And I was like, wow, that is really good. The other very unique thing that this anime has done so far is it gave us a twist on the isekai plotline. And there's a couple of different things that it did here. His grandpa, our main character, and our main character's name is... What the hell is our main character's name? I'll find it in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. But our main character's grandpa, essentially, left him a house, okay? And his name is 𝐜𝐴_𝐜𝐴_𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥. So our main character's grandpa died. Our main character's grandpa was the only person he was ever really close with who kind of motivated him through life, his whole life. And right before he graduated middle school, his grandpa died, left him a house, and left him basically all of his inheritance. Everything that the grandpa had became 𝐜𝐴's, right? What that did is because the grandpa said F you to his parents because of how they treated 𝐜𝐴, they were left with nothing. And because of that saltiness, they abandoned their child. Now, there's a lot more context there, but that's essentially what happened. At some point, 𝐜𝐴 then goes, and in the midst of him getting beat up, it's a pretty frequent thing that occurs to this kid. he goes and begins punching a mirror, punching a wall, and a wall opens. And this is where I really liked it, is he finds a room, a hidden room, and he was like, oh yeah, my grandpa was a, antique collector, blah, blah. He finds a door into a world, a parallel world that he has, that he's getting isekai into. And the very, very long story short is we discover, as the viewer, as we're watching it, that he can now travel in between, gain skills that are transferable or that kind of maintain with him from one world to the other. He can now make cash withdrawals. Basically, the things that he accomplishes on this side can be transferred or exchanged into yen, into cash on this side. So he can be basically self-sufficient with this travel between worlds, and he's able to kind of reap the benefits of that other world. Now, he hasn't explored the other world yet, which we're gonna see as the anime opens up. But that's one of the carrots that's been dangled for us. But he's able to do that, and I think that's such a unique twist on the isekai genre. Is typically it's reincarnated, transported, transferred into another world, and this one was really like, okay, well, he's gonna still be in this world, but he can go to the other world and he can come back. So that opens the door, no pun intended, for a lot of different avenues that the anime can explore, introduce us characters from this side, introduce us characters from that side, etc., etc. So I really, really like that quite a bit. I also really liked that at the end of it, or at the end of the episode, we were dangled another carrot, which is what I was talking about in that 7.5. Within that range, there was that. What's the reason to come back outside of maybe if I wasn't a fan of the other things? Well, at the end of the episode, we get to see a girl, and the girl she's coded, her status screen or whatever says 002, and she's from another academy. She's here to get Yuya. Now, I have a bunch of theories here. She could be, his transportation in between worlds could be very, not common, but he could not be the only one. And they were notified of him existing, so now they're going to transport him into a different school that maybe this occurs. She could be the girl that he saved. She looks like the girl that he saved, and she's been trying to track down her savior for some time. And maybe now she's going to hook him up and be like, you're coming to school with me kind of thing. There's so many different ways that this could go, but regardless, that carrot was dangled, and I'm biting on it. So good. So I love all of that. Also, he ate a monster, and I thought that was really cool. All right, that's all the positive stuff. I'm going to hit on the negative really quick because there's some nitpicky stuff. I'm not calling it nitpicky. I'm going to call it critiques, but you might view it as nitpicky. And I'm going to take like 2 minutes up with this. The anime in the beginning and probably the first third of the episode really tried to get us to feel a lot of sympathy, a lot of sympatheticness towards this really fat kid, right? And unfortunately, this dude, this Yuya guy in the show, has been fat since he was like a kid. And as somebody who was also fat at some point, you can do something about it. And he's allowed his life to kind of be dictated by being this fat POS, okay? And he's been getting beat up and all those other things. And the anime is really trying to draw out the sympathy of the viewer. I felt nothing because when it comes to that fatness, he could do something about it. He could have his revenge story. He could look like how he looked at the end of the episode. Maybe not six-pack, but he could be a skinny dude if he worked out and really just, ate well, worked out, really kind of gave his all to it. Especially if you guys remember, for those who are older like me, when you're young, like your metabolism is at the best, it's at peak, it's at the best it's gonna be. So like you can get fit very, very quick. So I was not feeling any sympathy at all. That's one thing I didn't like. The other thing was I would have liked to see another twist on the show of instead of him just, not earning the six-pack and getting skinny and good looking, I would have loved to see, let him be fat. I would have loved to have seen that, like, let him be fat and have to, like, motivate himself to go get skinny through this other world. Like, let him stay fat. It's too tropeistic. It's too much of a trope to, the fat kid, isekai, skinny kid, good looking now. He also gained like an inch. I think it's just because he got skinny. But I was like, okay, I would have loved to have seen him just like, let him stay fat. You know what I mean? Like, let him stay fat and learn and things like that. And the last nitpick that I have, or last critique that I have, is that there was about 3 months, he was on summer break, about 2 months or whatever before he started high school. And he didn't look at the mirror the whole time. But yeah, he was so surprised on how he looked. It's like, bro, you've looked down. You've had to go get clothes tailored. You see your six-pack. You can probably see your wangadang now, as before you probably couldn't see it. Why are you so surprised? So that kind of pissed me off too. So those are kind of like the things that were like nitpick that I really like. I was like, that kind of went into that 2.5 points being docked by it. There's a few other things. I have 2 pages of notes. I'm not going to go into all of that, but that's kind of the main things. But I don't think those nitpicks are going to carry over into the greater gravitas of the show, because those are things that are going to be left behind in episode 1. Regardless, let me know what you guys thought of this episode down in the comments below. If you want me to watch it every single week and critique it, put it in the comments, leave me a like, and I'll see you next week. Or I'll see you in more spring anime. Peace.